Hola, buenas tardes. Good afternoon, everyone. A political and theoretical reflection about frontier. So at Topo, we do different projects, like we have this publication that I'm going to show you, Frontier. Like we had recently a conference about NFT. Then we also organized a forum. I go with this. We organized 3 years ago. Like we organized a gathering which was called Interamérique. It was an event that was which goal was to gather Latin American artists from Montreal to expose them to new media technologies. And then we organized also lately, like last year, a symposium about digital publishing, which is called Mutation, le livre, the book at the digital age. So we mounted a program of 24 webinars about digital publishing. And so it goes through selling, creating, narrativity, technologies, and forms of books, e-books, and apps and stuff like that, like the conference. And we also do like field projects, like this one is called Mes mots, mon quartier, like my words, my neighborhood. And this is a poetic project where you can also participate. And the idea was to gather words and anecdotes and to make poems about it, make poems with them and organize them in doing workshops. And then we geolocalize them on a map to give a color to the different areas of the neighborhood. So here we have this poem, beautiful poem, like the stairs have... well, for those who can translate it themselves, you can do it. But it's just like playing with words, actually, and it was very fun. We also did more serious projects of geolocalization, which is called spectrography of the territory. And there it was more about collecting excerpts about the transformation of a neighborhood that was under a very severe which was confronted to the new university pavilion actually installed itself on a big piece of ground. And then it raises up like speculation, and then it's a very complicated neighborhood with very international neighborhood. And then we kind of gathered, like with an application, we gathered testimonies about what the transformation of the neighborhood. And now, main focus of this presentation is the theoretical and is a presentation of the program, the thematic program Frontier, that has been organized by Topo. So from 2019 to 2022, Topo proposed a thematic program around Frontier with exhibitions, workshops, performances, artist presentations, and a paper publication with a digital version to enhance the user experience. Concluding with this publication, the Frontier program and the issues that it raises have gone through global disruptions. It would be naive not to mention the posterior outbreak of COVID-19 pandemic that wrecked the lives of people throughout the world and forced the social universe to withdraw to the private sphere. At time of publishing this retrospective in the form of a printed map, with all of the editorial content online, dictatorial power has unleashed war in Eastern Europe, engendering a new cycle of crisis and violence next door. Over the years, other conflicts have cut words, headlines. The vast sweep of bleak territories makes frontiers a crucial issue. Migrations are intensifying. Climate change is generating new population movement. Have we finally entered the 21st century? So our program is divided in 3 different thematic sections, 3 exhibition cycles, each of which is associated with an author. So, like we have the author Nuria Carton de Gramont, Paul Macrous, and Myrna Boyadjian. The first cycle brings together 4 artists to explore the reconquest of roots and heritages through questions about memory and death. The second cycle presents 3 installations that questions technologies and their impact on our lives and societies, and their capacity, notably, to blur the boundaries between truth and falsehood, documentary and fiction, the living and the non-living. The notion of geopolitics composes the third cycle with a reflection on the relations between geography, human, material, territorial, and sociopolitics, questioning in various ways the relations of power and space. And 4 authors approach the notion of borders more broadly from their respective fields of research. Ricard Zapata Barrero in politics, Chantal Pombriand, aesthetics, Jean-Dominique Leccia, psychiatry, and David J. Johnson, technology. I wish to mention Ricard Zapata Barrero is a teacher in political science here at the Universidad Pompeu Fabra in Barcelona. Nuria Carton de Gramont is writing about the first cycle, like, and with her article, like spiritual matters and the meaning of the other. These different artistic proposals highlight the existence of alternative value systems, expressed notably by various indigenous people and ethnocultural realities that challenge the current world order. Spirituality could be a resource for social transformation, which stands at the intersection of traditional know-how and new media. We'll see some of the artistic projects a little bit later. A second text by Paul Macrous, Switching Views, Nature, Body, History. Borders have the power to contain and define the perimeter of a physical space within which power is exercised and their identity expressed. But what about immaterial virtual worlds and networks? Myrna Boyadjian in Geopolitics, Border Transformations in Our Times. In their exploration of different phenomena, the works of this third cycle call for political and aesthetic reflections, notably on the exercise of structuring powers, migrations, and the territorial reconstructions that result. They remind us of the influence of borders, visible and invisible, on forms of territoriality. Like in the first project of the first cycle, in La Ofrenda, con La Ofrenda, the artist Martin Rodriguez presented La Ofrenda, is an installation dedicated to the body of the artist, embodied by his electric guitar as a symbol of resilience. At 29, a diagnosis of brain cancer led him unable to play anymore. So this installation is a mix of frequency disturbances between different electronic systems contaminating each other. Notably, by his medical resonance imagery scan transformed into a visual and audio meditation, thus bridging brain to technology. In this installation, with conversation with falling spheres, Hulot presents an installation, presents an interactive, tactile, and auditory digital experience. Activated by touch, each circle emits up to 10 different sounds in indigenous minor pentatonic scale, played at random. The circle, a figure of gathering, drum, and ritual, represents the heartbeat of the Earth Mother as a space of communion and healing. Then with Rodrigo Velasco, Niolchoca. The disc is a sacred shape. In Mesoamerican cosmogony, it represents movement, water, fire, the sun. In the installation Niolchoca, the artist Rodrigo Velasco creates a poetic meshing of iconographies and wattled words, using generative coding. Diego Briceño with an interactive documentary, Dupu. In collaboration with the indigenous Guna community of Panama, the artists have created an interactive painting accessible via touchscreen that relates the history of the Gunas through an imaginary and symbolic iconography that retraces the transformation threatening their geographic and cultural heritage. Then we get into another cycle and start with Plongeon, an augmented reality photographic projects. In this project, the artist Venn explores the digital archive, which porous borders offer fertile ground for manipulation, appropriation, and falsification. Then Olli Sorensen with landscapes of the Anthropocenes. Olli Sorensen's works is a media art installation and social media campaign about the exhaustion of nature and landscapes. The networks and incessant flows inscribed in our daily lives are increasingly eroding natural landscapes. And there's a collection of animations of about like over 50 or 60 animated tableaus that you can access online. And then Stéphanie Morissette, at this particular point of time, like we were in the pandemic high, and we just went on the online with the projects. And Stéphanie Morissette, it's normally, it's at the basis a VR project, a virtual reality project, and we adapted it for a web presentation. In Meanders, an immersive web art project derived from a VR experience, we crossed the frontier of the skin to reveal, through medical imagery technologies, the details of the interior of the brain of the artist, Stéphanie Morissette. Then the work was divided into fragments, like 24 fragments, that you could access week after week, and which now compose the entire work. With Leviathan from Paulo Almario. Well, in Leviathan digital web tracking experience, the visitors are monitored by the computer's camera to leave the imprint of their passage, like capturing like facial movements, date, and length of visit, simultaneously generating tracings, mapping all the interactions between them and the capture systems. This web art project is actually a translation of a robotic installation. This is what we could get as a tableau, like when you were looking at the work. Then with Leila Zeli, with Day to Day, Leila attends to life in time of war by bringing to light daily actions taking place in an environment described as desolate and devastated by war. Day to Day gives a sense of what is ordinary during war, when the combat zone coexists with the living environment and the media space. Leila Zeli uses like collected videos to capture some of these moments and show that, the moments of joy also in a desolation landscape. Then with the last projects of this thematic program, Michel proposed a random and infinite documentary essay. The artist looks at how crossing points between Canada and the United States have changed by exploring part of the international border between the two countries. Which is interesting is this website, you can look at it like over and over because like it's random, the testimonies appear at random, and then photographs also. And then there's no real border. Well, there's a border, but there's in some places between Canada and the US, you don't see it. You don't see the border. So the artist have walked through the territory, and when he was going back to his studio, he was drawing up a square or a geometric form to mark where the frontier is in the field. So the theoretical reflection now goes here. Well, we also invited 4 specialists, artists, and curators and researchers to write about frontiers. And Chantal Pontbriand, she's been directing many projects and publications, and she writes about the internalization of art. And she writes about the connection between immigration and creation is situated at the heart of this essay, in which the author analyzes how movement, journeying physically or mentally beyond where one lives, is essential to triggering a creative process and developing an innovative aesthetics, which we could call an aesthetics of change. Then Ricard Zapata Barrero, well, in this essay is based on the hypothesis that the relationship between politics and borders is being reshaped as a consequence of the movement of people between states. Ricard Zapata explores the link between the concept of the border and policies aimed at managing human mobility from the perspective of political theory. And then David J. Johnston, who's a digital poet. In this essay, David J. Johnston discusses the ethics of neurological frontiers. The future interface frontier is inside the body, it is inside brains. The author also underlines that the frontiers of human brains will be pre-colonized by a generation of euthanized rats and primates, unceded, occupied, colonized cognitive systems. And there's one text missing here from Jean-Dominique Leccia, psychiatrist. Jean-Dominique Leccia reflects on the spatial revolution of mental space and on how borders are inscribed in dismantleized spatial language. He evokes borders and their extension, the way in which they are internalized in mental problems and can potentially be used in a psychiatrical treatment. So this is what I presented you is our screen captures of the website that contains the overall content of the publication. And this is that's the real publication that we've put up, that we carried here. So it relates to the different sections of the thematic program. And we managed to visualize somehow, like on a map, like to talk about frontiers and talk about the different categories of the thematic program. And I invite you to take a map before you leave the space. It's all over for you, and we're very happy to be here with you and to launch this publication. Thank you.